Hi, it's Wayne from howtofish.com.au. I had a chance to fish the Maribyrnong River just recently at Flemington. It was lunchtime, unfortunately, so that's the middle of the day. Not a great time to be trying to catch fish. When I got there, it was bright and sunny, there was no breeze, and the tide was going out. So these are not great conditions for fishing. So you've got to expect at that time that you're not going to get the best fish unless you're very, very lucky. So what I try to do is prepare for the tough times, usually when there's only going to be small fish about. And this is what I did. When I got down to the water, it was really clear the conditions weren't great. Apart from the bright sun and no breeze and the tide being out, there was hardly movement on the water at all. So I knew I had to go to small baits, small hooks, and then I wanted to use a burley cage that was relatively light because obviously the water's not moving, so I didn't need much weight to keep me at the bottom. I was using this metal 40-gram burley cage, and I was really pushing the burley in hard. Because it's made of wire and has got a grill at the top, it releases the burley quite well. So I was pressing it in really hard so that when I cast, it would release some on the way down and some of the burley deposit on the bottom. Now I had a target spot on the other side, so I was trying to cast to the same spot each time. And when you do that, you get the fish, you can really concentrate the fish in one spot if you get the burley into the same spot. But because the fish were really picky on the day, I was holding my rod simply because I might only have one shot at striking into a biting fish. After a few casts, I started to get a bit of action, and finally I was able to strike into a fish. Typically, the first fish are pretty small, and this one was no exception. This little bream took my bait. The burley cage that I was using at the moment, that black wire cage, was holding bottom perfectly. But if the flow was to pick up with the incoming tide, I would have moved to a heavier burley cage like this 60-gram cage here. If I didn't do that, the smaller cage would move along, it would distribute the burley and distribute the fish. I need to be able to hold bottom, a target spot where the fish will concentrate, and every time I cast in, I've got a chance of hooking one. Regular and accurate casting is the key. It's the thing that will get enough burley in the area to attract fish, but you must have a target, and I always use something on the other side to try and cast to each time. The fishing was pretty hard on the day. I did notice around me that not many fishermen were there and not many were catching fish, but by just doing simple things, by changing my bait, by using bait dips, by casting the same spot, I was getting a few fish in. No, they weren't large, but at least they're fun to bring in. And of course, bream always fight out of all proportion to their size, especially on light gear. I started to get a few fish into the area. I was losing quite a bit of bait. I wasn't able to hook many fish. My casting was pretty accurate because there wasn't much breeze. So at least when there's not much breeze, it doesn't push your weight off target when you cast. Hooking the fish was my big challenge. Striking was not my strong suit on this session. I was probably getting about 2 fish in every 10 that I was actually striking at. On this occasion, I actually hooked into the fish, which was good. But there was only going to be small fish about, so I had the techniques for getting those in. Small hooks, small bait, a fine pre-stretched trace, which is finer diameter than my main line, light gear, made it possible to get the fish in and have that fun. I've been at this fishing spot for about 90 minutes. That was as long as I could stay, and I was pretty much ready to pack up. As I was sitting there, a boat came across, and boats are coming through this water quite regularly. The amazing thing is that instead of boat activity scaring the fish, it actually sometimes stimulates them. I hooked into what was the best fish of the day, so my last cast. It really pulled hard, and I didn't play the drag properly, which meant that it effectively just broke me off. And that is the trouble with the light trace going for small fish. Sometimes the big ones will break you off. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And for only the gear that I mention, the tactics and how to fish, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.